Hello, I'm Alexandra Early, and my topic for today is counseling students whose parent or parents may be incarcerated. First, I will start off with the definition of incarceration. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, to incarcerate means to put someone in prison. The presenting problem is that over 1 million children have a parent or parents who are incarcerated. This is an astounding number, and the effects of the incarcerated parent follow the child for years. According to research, many affected children experience increased risk for developing behavior problems, academic failure, and substance abuse. Further research suggests that children of incarcerated parents are at risk for developing behavior and school problems, as well as an insecure attachment and relationship problems. So this means that children with an incarcerated parent are more likely to have a behavior issue. They will act out in school. They might fail a lot of their classes. They might turn to substances to cope with the loss of their parent. And they also have issues with attaching to the wrong people. These students would benefit from counseling due to the vast array of issues that they are at risk for. I have a few statistics about children with incarcerated parents. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, parents of minor children held in the nation's prisons increased by 79% between 1991 and 2007. That is a huge jump, and that was almost 10 years ago, but there hasn't been any more recent updates since then. Authors state that parents held in nation's prisons, 52% of state inmates and 63% of federal inmates, reported having an estimated 1,706,600 minor children, which account for 2.3% of the United States resident population under the age of 18. And that was in 2008. So just imagine in 2016 that number has increased probably by at least 100,000. And I will talk about the effects on the children, the effects of having an incarcerated parent on a child. So a number one effect on a child would be that their family isn't a cohesive family because their one parent or both parents are not in the picture. Miscommunication can often occur in families with incarcerated parents due to the lack of the means of communication. So these children are only able to see their parent maybe once a month, twice a month, through a glass screen or through a table. So they're not getting much interaction with the parent. Not only that, if they don't visit the parent, all they can do is write them a letter, or if they're not old enough to write, they can speak to them on the phone, which is very limited. You can only get so much in on a 5-minute conversation or through a letter and having to wait for the person to reply to you. Research shows that quality family relationships are built with positive communication and partnerships between parental figures, as well as supportive communication patterns between the children and the parent. So basically, a great family bond is built on communication. And a lot of these children don't have these skills because they don't have the means to have positive communication with their parents. Also, children with incarcerated parents struggle with attachment issues due to their inability to have a close relationship with the incarcerated parent, as well as internalizing disorders. Often these children live with their grandparent, their aunt, a godparent, and even worse, they could be in foster care, which means they're being bounced from house to house to house. So they have issues with people popping in and out of their life. And oftentimes, if a parent goes to jail once, they will go back a second time. So they struggle with having that parent there, then the parent's gone, and then the parent's back again, and it's not healthy for the child's mental state. Some potential risks for these children with incarcerated parents, according to research, are poor academic behavior, attachment issues, as I've previously spoken about, attention-seeking behaviors, such as calling out in class, acting out in the hallway, etc., mental illness, such as depression, bipolar disorder, substance abuse. Oftentimes these students will turn to nicotine, to marijuana, to alcohol to cope with the loss of their parent, and because they might have seen their parent before they went to jail doing these things and engaging in these behaviors. Also, they might believe that crime or drug use is normal because that is how they grew up, that is what they've seen around them, that might be what they've seen on TV in relation to prison. Some strategies for counselors. Educators, counselors, as well as teachers should understand the stigma that surrounds these students and understand what they're going through. Their day-to-day life isn't easy. They don't have their parent figure. They might have an aunt, like I said before, or a grandmother, uncle, but they don't have their parent there, and that's big. So we have to understand that not only do they not have the parent, but they're seen as troubled kids from the beginning just because of the fact that their parent has been in trouble. So we have to understand that they're stigmatized, and we have to see how it affects the students. Also, these students might be treated in a negative way where people don't want to open up and understand their struggle. According to Phillips and Gates, educators need to understand stigmatization and how it affects the children's adjustment to parental incarceration and its possible role in the onset and course of emotional and behavioral problems. So as counselors, we should promote empathy and promote positivity to these students and empower them and be advocates for them. We should promote positive activities for these students to keep them safe and off the streets and out of a life of crime. So we should promote them and push them in the right direction to go to after school programs, the Boys and Girls Club, tutoring, sports that'll keep them motivated and off of the streets. And finally, I have some more interventions and strategies. Group counseling would be beneficial for students with incarcerated parents. Maybe a group that's solely for this population of students where boys and girls in maybe the 6th and 7th grade can come together who have a parent in prison and understand how the other is feeling. There can be an emphasis on grief, and there can also be an emphasis on adjusting to not having that parent around and adjusting to life without the parent. Counselors must be empathetic and use the Rogerian technique of unconditional positive regard when working with these students, being that they're already negatively stigmatized and seen as troubled children or seen as at a disadvantage or marginalized. Gestalt therapy may also be useful using the empty chair technique, where the student can look at the chair and say something that they would want to say to their parent that isn't around. For example, they might tell their parent that they miss them or that it upsets them that they're not there. So having an outlet for the student to talk to would be beneficial. Students would use this technique probably in the beginning of sessions just to get the feelings out there, and then you can work on these feelings each session. Also, outside of school, family therapy might be a useful resource for the student and their family to cope with the loss of the loved one. And in conclusion, parents' incarceration is a serious issue that is affecting over 1 million students in the United States. This issue puts children at a risk for behavioral problems, emotional problems, mental illness, poor academic performance, and the possible use of substances. Promoting positive activities and positive behavior and providing a safe space for these students is necessary. It's important for counselors to be educated and understand that these children are stigmatized and marginalized and that we must advocate for them. Group and family therapy would benefit this group the most, and it is important to remember what types of therapy or what types of counseling to use in sessions with these students. Solution-focused or solution-based therapy might not be the best because this is going to be an ongoing issue in their life. So using cognitive behavioral or Gestalt or Rogerian would be beneficial to use with these students. Thank you.